The One Piece is real! Anyone who's interested in finding the One Piece knows that the dude who hid it is a pirate legend named Gol D. So today we're going to take a look at the life of the Pirate King and see if it helps anyone find the titular treasure. My bet is that the One Piece is the friends you made along the way, but what do I know? Welcome back to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check that you are indeed subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Background. Gol D. was born in Logtown in the East Blue 77 years ago. According to Monkey D. Garp, Roger grew up in difficult circumstances and developed a great fear of losing his loved ones above all else. Sometime later during his youth, he met Silver's Rayleigh and became impressed by the ship he was using, which Rayleigh stole to live on after his house burned down. Viewing their encounter as a fated meeting, he asked Rayleigh to join him in turning the world upside down. Though Rayleigh refused at first, Roger's insistence managed to win him over, and the two became best friends ever since. Roger eventually became the captain of the Roger Pirates with Rayleigh as his first mate. He was renowned as a rookie around 5 decades ago, but at some point, Roger's crew visited Water 7 and hired the master shipwright Tom to build a new ship for them. Using wood from the legendary treasure tree Adam, Tom constructed the Oro Jackson, which became the famed ship of the Roger Pirates. Roger and his crew then sailed into the New World, and 39 years ago, he and his crew reached Lodestar Island, the final island that the log pose pointed to. However, Roger knew that the real final island was beyond this point and that the road poneglyphs gave clues about its location. 38 years ago, Rogers and his crew arrived at God Valley to confront Rox D. Zebek for some past grievance that occurred a year prior, as well as to intercept oncoming attacks from the God's Knights. At the same time, he and his longtime rival, Marine Vice Admiral Garp, formed the temporary alliance against the Rox Pirates, which led to the pair fighting on God Valley against the crew including Edward Newgate, Charlotte Linlin, Shiki, Kaido, and their captain, Rox D. Zebek. The battle resulted in the dissolution of the crew, with people viewing Zebek as Roger's first and most formidable enemy. Afterwards, the event became known as the God Valley Incident, although the alliance and Roger's involvement was not publicly reported. Roger also found a 1-year-old Shanks inside a treasure chest they had looted from the location post-incident, and decided to have the infant sail with them. At some point, Roger managed to sneak into Linlin's territory of Tato Land and gained a copy of her road poneglyph, though they could not translate it. 30 years later, Roger read a newspaper and learned that a samurai from Wano country had joined the Whitebeard Pirates, leading Roger to become interested in meeting him. Roger and his crew got into numerous battles with other pirate crews, with one such clash being against the Maelstrom Spider Pirates. This battle ended with the Roger Pirates wiping out everyone on it except for the captain's squad. Final Voyage. 28 years ago, Roger came down with an incurable illness. He decided to pitch one last journey with his crew into the Grand Line. Upon reaching the lighthouse at Reverse Mountain at the entrance of the Grand Line, he recruited Crocus as his doctor to keep him alive until the completion of his final journey. 27 years ago, Roger was approached by Shiki, who had learned that Roger had located an ancient weapon. Seeking the opportunity, he asked Roger if they could join forces, as with his large pirate fleet and Roger's weapon, Shiki believed that they could take over the whole world, even telling Roger that what happened between them in the past was forgotten. Despite the urges of Buggy, Roger refused Shiki's offer, and said that he wanted to be free to do what he wanted. Shiki announced that his answer meant the death of him, while Roger said that it meant that he would beat him, and a great sea battle soon ensued between their crews. The battle was resolved by a storm that happened during their fight, which sunk half of Shiki's fleet. Around a year later, Roger and his crew brutally defeated a marine squadron, creating a ruckus that attracted the attention of the Whitebeard Pirates. Roger's crew went to meet them and encountered Kozuki Odin charging toward them. Roger quickly overpowered Odin before clashing with Whitebeard, and the skirmish between the crews lasted for 3 days and 3 nights before it ultimately became a gift exchange. Roger spoke with Whitebeard and Odin and told them about his intention to reach the last island in the Grand Line. Roger then begged Odin to join his crew for 1 year to decipher the road poneglyphs. Odin agreed, and he and his wife Toki and children Momonosuke and Hiyori set sail with Roger. Inoarashi and Nekomamashi followed them as stowaways. Crocus told Rogers he had 1 year left to live, and soon afterward the Roger Pirates journeyed up to Skypiea. Roger easily found the Shandorian Golden Belfry Bell due to his ability to hear its voice, which he claimed spoke about a certain weapon named Poseidon. Roger told Odin to inscribe a message about his presence at Skypiea and intended Gol to reach the ends of the world into the Bell's surface. After leaving Skypiea, the crew's ship sailed to Water 7 to pay Tom a visit. With Odin at his side, Roger sought after the road poneglyphs, which held together the key to the coordinates of the final island. Already possessing the transcription of Big Mom's road poneglyph at hand and having a general idea about where to find another, Roger learned about the location of two more from Odin, Inuarashi, and Nekomamushi, whose family and people had guarded them at Wano Country and Zo, respectively. The crew later journeyed to Fishman Island. Roger and Odin also noticed voices during the undersea trip, unaware that they came from the resident Sea Kings. After reaching Fishman Island, Roger got reacquainted with King Neptune. The road poneglyph, whose whereabouts Roger had a suspicion of, was located at the Sea Forest, near Fishman Island and right next to the poneglyph containing Joy Boy's letter of apology. While at Fishman Island, Roger met a young Shiarli and became aware of certain prophecies about the future, showing a particular interest about Poseidon's whereabouts. Sometime after leaving Fishman Island, Toki became ill and the Roger pirates stopped at Wano Country. After acquiring the information from Wano's poneglyphs, the crew left Toki, Momonosuke, Hiyori, Inuarashi, and Nekomamushi behind. Later, with the help of a Vivre card and letter from Nekomamushi and Inuarashi, Roger was able to land at Zo and befriend the Mink tribe. On his way to the road poneglyph inside the whale tree, Roger experienced another mysterious voice alongside Odin, leaving the both of them with feelings of unease. Later on, Roger was approached by a young Pedro, who was eager to accompany him on his adventure. Roger declined Pedro's request, but still reassured the Mink that he would play an important role in the future. Roger's condition was worsening as they progressed further, so he and his crew had to rush their quest, leaving Buggy, who became sick, and Shanks, who was taking care of him, behind. With the information of every road poneglyph at hand, Roger and his crew ultimately made it to the elusive final island of the Grand Line. There, not only did they learn the truth about the Void Century, the ancient weapons, and the Wheel of D, but they also stumble upon Joy Boy's treasure. Roger and his crewmates reacted to this discovery with a burst of laughter. Roger professed his curiosity about Joy Boy, considering the circumstances behind this past figure as funny. Inspired by Joy Boy's story, Roger bestowed the final island with the name of Laugh-Tale. Soon, the news of Roger's discovery of Laugh-Tale led the world to recognize him as the Pirate King. As a result, many pirates and marine forces were targeting the crew to eliminate Roger and get his treasure. Later, Roger decided to disband his crew. Upon learning that they were early, Roger's planned to sire a son that would find One Piece next. Roger also told Odin that he wanted to meet Whitebeard before he died. Later, he was the first to leave the crew and ship, leaving his first mate Rayleigh some final words claiming that he would not die. He also took some medicine from Crocus as he parted ways with his comrades, who cried as he left. Final days of the king. Following the disbanding of his crew, Roger had a final meeting with Whitebeard, where he told him about the nickname the government gave him, Gold Roger, and the secret of the Will of D. Roger offered to tell Whitebeard how to get to Laugh-Tale, but Whitebeard declined due to lack of interest. At some point after leaving his crew, he met Portgas D. Rouge, a woman living in Bataria, and the two fell in love. In time, Rouge came to bear Roger's child, and Roger came up with two names depending on the baby's gender: Anne if it was a girl, or Ace if it was a boy. Knowing that he'd be long dead by the time the child arrived, Roger then left Rouge and turned himself into the Marines. While in prison, he asked his old enemy Garp to take care of his child after he was gone, saying that an infant should not be labeled as a criminal just for his family ties. Although Garp said he had no obligation to do so, Roger knew he would do it anyway. Thinking they would make an example of him to prevent others from becoming pirates, the Marines brought him back to his birthplace, Logtown, to face his execution in front of a large crowd. However, instead of trembling with fear like most people would before their demise, Roger smiled proudly without regret, which was noticed by several spectators, including a young smoker. And just before he met his end, Roger yelled out his famous last words.
If anyone wants my treasure, then it's yours for the taking. Go find it! I left everything I gathered in one place.
Legacy. Roger's legacy has been among the most impactful legacies left by any person in history. Although the world government intended his execution to send a message against the institution of piracy, Roger's final words created the opposite result. Numerous people from around the world began to set sail as pirates in the hopes of finding Roger's treasure, with the general view that whoever made it to Laugh-Tale and acquired the One Piece would assume Roger's mantle of Pirate King. The explosion in piracy across the world has resulted in the time following it, all the way to the present day, to be dubbed the Great Age of Piracy. The crowd at Roger's execution consisted of a great number of people who would go on to become extremely infamous pirates and criminals, and this fervor was passed down to those who were born after Roger's execution, with many young adults composing the newest pirate generations of the present day being among that group. Pirates who knew Roger personally all had different reactions to his demise. The members of his old crew all became depressed upon learning of their former captain's execution, but also proud of what he did right before he was executed. This includes his first mate, Silver's Rayleigh, and Kozuki Oden, who both cried and laughed at the news. His disciples, Shanks and Buggy, began forming their own crews right after Roger's death, though while Buggy preferred laying low with his crew to avoid attention from the Marines, Shanks eventually returned to the New World with his men and became one of the most influential pirates in the world, the Four Emperors. He even inherited his old captain's trademark technique. In addition, Roger's greatest rival, Whitebeard, having known of Roger's intentions leading up to his execution, was unaffected by the Pirate King's death. Roger's other rival, Shiki, on the other hand, could not believe that the Marines were the ones to take Roger into custody, and attacked Marineford in order to get the chance to kill Roger personally. Due to Roger's exceptional infamy, the world government worked tirelessly to eradicate anyone with connections to him, no matter how small. Members of the Roger Pirates continued to possess active bounties, even with nearly a quarter century having passed since his death. Any civilian who worked with Roger, regardless of what reasons they had for doing so, is also considered a criminal. A prominent example of this was Tom, who was sentenced to death simply for building the Oro Jackson, despite the general standard being that shipwrights were not responsible for how their ships were used. Although this persecution caused most people who were affiliated with Roger to go into hiding, these connections also granted the potential to gain respect in the more lawless circles. This was seen to a considerable degree with Buggy, who was able to get hundreds of powerful impelled down prisoners to rally around him out of admiration just for his affiliation with the Pirate King. This connection alone was enough to enable him to acquire a seat within the 7 Warlords of the Sea until its dissolution, and then allow him to become one of the 4 Emperors after unintentionally forming an alliance with 2 other famous pirates, Crocodile and Dracul Mihawk. In addition, Roger's other disciple, Shanks, would also become a powerful pirate, who, unlike Buggy, actually earned the title of Emperor, which he held for 6 years running, and would even copy one of his old captain's most powerful sword techniques. Roger's son, Portgas D. Ace. A special degree of attention was given to the idea of Roger's progeny, with the world government being committed to eliminating any and all remainders of the Pirate King's bloodline. It was heavily believed by the government and Marines that anyone with Roger's bloodline would start a new reign of terror with the next generation of pirates. Their efforts were at the most intense in the year following Roger's death, and all children born near areas where Roger had visited within 10 months of his death were inspected, along with any pregnant women. Any child possessing even a suspicion of a connection to Roger was to be killed. This hunt resulted in Rouge, Roger's only lover, keeping their only child Ace in her womb for an additional 15 months to allow him to be born after the hunt had subsided, though this was at the cost of her own life. As per Roger's request, Garp adopted Ace and guarded him throughout his childhood. Although Roger inspired a great number of people to pursue piracy, he appeared to be despised by the majority of civilians, who, like the world government, viewed any child sired by him as a dangerous threat. Pirates who had been victimized by Roger and his crew also despised the Pirate King, and looked to take out their grudge on any potential offspring. Due to these sentiments and Roger not being in his life, Ace hated and disowned his father for bringing him into a world that wanted him dead just for existing, choosing to adopt his mother's surname instead of Roger's to keep his true heritage a secret. Despite that, however, and despite Garp's insistence that he should become a Marine, Ace ultimately chose to follow in his father's footsteps and became an infamous pirate in his own right, though he had no desire to find his father's treasure or claim his title of Pirate King. Instead, he wished to surpass Roger by doing the one thing his father could not, killing his greatest rival, Whitebeard, though he ultimately ended up joining his crew. When Ace revealed his heritage to Newgate, the old pirate stated that he did not care that Ace was related to his sworn rival. Summit War of Marineford. Roger's legacy ultimately played a large role in facilitating the Summit War of Marineford, one of the greatest conflicts of the last century. Having known for some time that Ace was Roger's son, the government took him being delivered into their captivity as an opportunity to publicly execute him, even though this would start a war with Whitebeard and his crew, who fought with everything they had to save him. Before the war began, Sengoku revealed Ace's true heritage to the world, making him even more infamous than he was previously, and also claimed that Whitebeard was grooming Ace to inherit his father's title, a belief whose veracity is uncertain. This revelation would cause one of Whitebeard's allies to betray his benefactor due to his grudge against Roger, only to be calmed down and reminded that one's bloodline does not make them guilty for the sins of their parents. Despite great efforts to rescue him, Ace ultimately perished in the war, thus ending Roger's bloodline completely, and Whitebeard himself would follow suit afterwards. But just before his death, Whitebeard claimed that even if Roger's lineage was erased, his will would still be inherited. He and others have given indications that Ace's adopted brother, Monkey D. Luffy, would carry on this will. After all, Luffy was inspired to find the One Piece and become the next Pirate King by Roger's former disciple, Shanks, who gave him the straw hat that Roger himself once wore. After spending 2 years aiding in Luffy's training, Silver's Rayleigh himself noted the similarities between the two men, who stated that Luffy had grown to be more worthy of the hat Roger wore. There were many who did not believe Roger's words upon his death, believing that the One Piece was nothing more than a myth he invented to spread chaos upon the world after his demise out of spite. Many pirates who have had their dreams crushed by the harsh environment of the Grand Line also came to accept this philosophy, and even chose to mock others for continuing to believe. However, Whitebeard used his final breath to proclaim to the world watching the broadcast of the Marineford War that the One Piece does indeed exist, thus removing any and all doubt in Roger's final words. Although the Great Age of Pirates had not yet subsided at that point, this proclamation created a renewed interest in piracy, leading to the years after the war being dubbed the New Age of Piracy. Hidden History and Unknown Dream. Roger's arrival at Laugh-Tale and discovery of the true history of the Void Century there would set into motion many of the events that were foretold in that time, even though he arrived 2 decades before those events would ultimately take place. Namely, Kozuki Oden became aware of the need to open the borders of his homeland Wano country in preparation for those events. However, his efforts were blocked by another one of Roger's rivals, Kaido, who conspired with the Kurozumi family to take control of Wano and kill Oden, although his retainers swore to accomplish what their leader couldn't. But even after Kaido's defeat, Oden's son and heir, Momonosuke, decided not to open the country's borders yet, believing it to be too soon to do so. In addition, Roger had an unknown dream, and he thought that by reaching Laugh-Tale and obtaining whatever treasure was left there, he would be able to accomplish it. When he told this dream to both Whitebeard and Oden, the former laughed at how silly or impossible it was, while the latter was left in awe and shock. Oden wrote down what Roger said in his journal, which was retrieved and kept safe by Yamato. Coincidentally, Luffy has the exact same goal that Roger had, and also believed that he could truly accomplish it by reaching Laugh-Tale and becoming Pirate King. He told it both to Ace and his other adoptive brother Sabo, and then years later to his crew. When Ace told Yamato what Luffy said years prior, Yamato was surprised and left in tears at the similarities that Luffy had to Roger. Abilities and powers. Roger was hailed as one of the strongest pirates of all time, considered nearly unstoppable in battle. As the Pirate King, he retains the highest status among all the world's pirates, even post-mortem. Elucidating this is the truly enormous bounty he had prior to his death, with 5,564,800,000 being the highest in pirating history. In addition, unlike the majority of most powerful individuals in the world, Roger never had any devil fruit powers, which makes him even more impressive. Very few people are known to have ever matched Roger in battle. Most prominently, the legendary hero of the Marines, Monkey D. Garp, was said to have cornered Roger multiple times before his surrender. According to Roger himself, he also considered Sengoku, the then future fleet admiral who wielded the power of a golden Buddha mythical Zoan, as one of the 2 Marines that were worth his time. Aside from his animosity with the Marines, Roger's second foremost pirate rival was Whitebeard, who wielded the strongest Paramecia type devil fruit and was renowned as the strongest man in the world, even before Roger's death. Another person known to rival Roger's was Rox D. Jebek, who was considered to be his first and most formidable rival, even more so than Whitebeard would come to be. Other examples of Roger's strength included fighting with Shiki, who commanded the largest pirate fleet of his time and single-handedly defeating the armies of several countries. He also fought against Chinchou many times in the past. Kaido, who at some point came to be called the world's strongest creature, put Roger in the same elite class with a very small number of other notable figures that actually possess the strength to stand against him in battle, such as Whitebeard, Kozuki Oden, Shanks, and Jebek. Even a mighty warrior such as Oden, who had effortlessly slain actual gigantic beasts, commented on Roger's prowess, comparing his presence to that of a wild beast. Voice of all things. According to Rayleigh, Roger could locate the poneglyphs because he had the ability to hear the voice of all things. However, he was not like the Ohara scholars who used their intellect to study the poneglyphs, so he could not exactly read them. Roger was also one of 5 beings who possessed the ability to hear Sea Kings speaking, the other 4 being Luffy, Shirahoshi, Poseidon, and Odin. He was also one of 4 known humans in the series who possessed the ability to hear Zunisha speaking. Physical abilities. Roger possessed immense physical strength, as shown when he easily sent Kozuki Oden flying. He could also clash evenly with a young Edward Newgate, who could, even in his old age, effortlessly overpower giants. Roger also had immense levels of endurance and vitality, even when his body was ravaged by an incurable disease. Aided by Crocus's medical skills, he managed to conquer the Grand Line in a mere 3 years. He was even able to fight for 3 more days and 3 nights against Whitebeard until the fight resulted in a draw. Swordsmanship. Roger was an immensely skilled and powerful swordsman, overpowering the legendary master samurai Kozuki Oden with only 1 strike. Along with his mastery of Haki, he was also able to clash equally against Whitebeard's Murakumagiri, causing a powerful shockwave that blew back everything on the island as well as the Moby Dick by the coast. Haki. Roger was one of the very few people in the world who could use all 3 types of Haki. Kaido mentioned that despite him not having a devil fruit, his Haki alone was powerful enough to make him among the strongest people in the world. Haoshoku Haki. Roger possessed immense mastery in the usage of Haoshoku Haki, which was seen when he clashed with fellow Haki user Edward Newgate. Their clash created a notable effect, similar to lightning, and released a large burst that traveled across the island that they were on and pushed back the Moby Dick alongside the nearby trees, clouds, and people. Most notably, Roger was one of the very few Haoshoku users able to use the advanced application to infuse his attacks with Haki, to exponentially increase his attack power, with his sword being shown emitting streams of black lightning-like energy in his clash with Newgate, signifying the infusion. Busoshoku Haki. Roger was an immensely skilled user of Busoshoku Haki. He could imbue his saber with Haki, allowing it to evenly clash against the Haki-infused Murakumagiri, one of the 12 supreme grade Meito. As a testament to his mastery, he overpowered Kozuki Oden, who was an exceptional master of Busoshoku Haki in his own right, with only a single brief attack. Furthermore, Roger could utilize the advanced application of emitting Busoshoku Haki out from his blade, allowing him to attack opponents without making physical contact. He was first shown using this during his battle against Whitebeard. In the anime, when Roger used advanced Busoshoku Haki, it is shown as a red-colored flowing aura. Kenbunshoku Haki. Roger possessed the ability to use Kenbunshoku Haki. This is a form of Haki that grants the user a 6th sense that allows them to sense the presence, strength, and emotions of others, as well as gain limited precognitive abilities. Weapons. Roger's main weapon was a cutlass named Ace, which is one of the 12 supreme grade blades. He wielded it at least as far back as the God Valley incident, and was shown possessing it up until the end of his pirating journey. During the Battle of Edwar, Roger was shown wielding a flintlock pistol with his right hand and Ace with his left. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.